Hey everybody, this is Larry from the Shizzle Network here, back again, and I am going to be making a video where I give my thoughts on Danny Phantom, which in my opinion is one of the best animated shows of all time. In my personal opinion, it's one of my personal favorite animated shows. I used to watch this show a lot when I was a kid, alongside with Fairly Odd Parents, which was made by the same creator, Butch Hartman. And for those who don't know, he's one of my favorite animators as well, but that's not really the point. The point is that I'm trying to say that Danny Phantom, I grew up watching this show, and I still freaking love it to this day. I actually spent the last 4 or 5 days as of this recording binge watching the entire series, all the way from the beginning of season 1 to the end of season 3. In fact, I actually just got done watching the series finale, which was the fourth and final TV movie, Phantom Planet, just a few minutes ago, and a huge thought came to me, which is that after rewatching this entire show all together, I realized that Danny Phantom had all the potential in the world to be one of the biggest Nickelodeon shows of all time, but it had to come to a premature end, and I'll explain the reason why it got canceled much later in this video. But I am going to be giving my thoughts on Danny Phantom, and in my personal opinion, it is one of the best animated shows of all time, and I do personally believe that this show is Butch Hartman's best work. I know I'm not the only one to think that, because on top of critics and fans acclaiming this show, because even Butch Hartman himself said that Danny Phantom was indeed his personal favorite show that he's ever worked on. So even he thinks that Danny Phantom is his best work. That's when you know that everyone loves it. Now, I loved almost every single episode of this show. Has been ranked from either good to great to outstanding. Even some of the weaker episodes of the show were not even considered bad, in my opinion. They were definitely very watchable, but they were not to a point where they would make you just get all excited and go, oh my god, that was a great episode. It was just one of those, meh episodes. Like, yeah, it was watchable, but you didn't have, so much to say about, the episode and everything. So, in short, Danny Phantom, in my opinion, it's just such a great show. I highly recommend watching it at least once. For those who have never seen the show in your life, I highly recommend watching it at least once as soon as you can. It's a show that you will definitely it's a show that you'll definitely love watching the moment you first see it. And as you continue to binge watch every episode, especially when you binge watch it like I have for the past few days, you will get an absolute amazing experience. Now, part of the reason why I love the show so much, it mostly stems from the fact that I am a huge fan of superheroes. Like, I always love watching, a bunch of people with fantasy powers just battling it out with other fantasy, characters and everything. I always love watching that. Those are like my favorite kinds of visuals, and my favorite type of fantasy is that superhero-like type storylines. And speaking of superheroes, when you watch Danny Phantom, the one thing you'll notice is how much he kind of parallels to that of Spider-Man. The one thing that a lot of people might notice is that Danny Phantom does kind of parallel with Spider-Man in a certain way, and in the sense that he's basically a teenage boy at the age of 14, right? And he's not only balancing his life in high school, but he's also balancing his life as a superhero. It's similar to how when Spider-Man first appeared in the comics and how he would often balance his life as a superhero while being a high school student. It's the same thing with Danny. The only difference, of course, would be their origin stories and their abilities as well. We already know that Danny is, of course, he's half human, half ghost. I mean, we see it in the show. The thing is that how Danny gets his powers is that he gains his powers from ecto exposure, while in the comics Spider-Man gains his powers from a radioactive spider. And that's how these two superheroes became the people they are in this day. Now, more things I do want to discuss about Danny Phantom is that is how much it also kind of takes a lot of inspirations from Marvel. Now, not only did I say how much the origin and the character idea of a teenage boy who's in high school balancing his life as a superhero not only kind of gets that idea from Spider-Man, but also, there's a lot of Marvel spoofs in the show as well. And it comes from the season 2 finale of Danny Phantom, which was the third Danny Phantom TV movie, Reality Trip. The main antagonist, who was a normal human being named Freak Show, he had the ability to use a glove called the Reality Gauntlet, where if all the reality gems are on this glove, he has the power to basically manipulate reality and control it with his every will. It's the same thing in the Marvel comics as the Infinity Gauntlet, which is the glove worn by the Marvel villain Thanos, where if all the gems are collected and are inside the glove, he has the power to manipulate reality and everything, time, whatever you could call it, basically making him the most powerful being in the entire universe. Now, I don't know how much power scaling goes as far as this show goes. Like in Danny Phantom, like we can see that there are some ghosts where they have the ability to destroy Earth as a whole, and there were some very powerful ghosts that we saw in the show, like Vlad Plasmius, which is Danny's arch nemesis, and then there was Paria Dark, who was the main antagonist from the first Danny Phantom TV movie, Rainstorm, and then you also had other powerful ghosts like Dark Danny, who was from the second TV movie, The Ultimate Enemy, who, in my opinion, I think at that time definitely had the ability to destroy planet Earth, but we're not here to discuss about those things. What I do plan to do is that I do plan to make a list video discussing my top 20 favorite Danny Phantom episodes. Now, I know there's only 53 episodes of this show, but almost a lot of these episodes that you'll see are just really that damn good. And like I said, I highly recommend watching it whenever you get the chance, at least once. I do prefer to at least watch it as many times, even if you've seen it already. I would still watch it again. Even for those who haven't seen the show in a couple years, definitely binge watch the show again, as I have, because I haven't seen the show in years, and these 5 days of binge watching, revisiting the show, and getting everything clear in my head again as far as who the characters are and all that, it's been a wonderful experience. I heavily enjoyed binge watching this series. Now, the one last thing I do want to talk about before I end this video is the reason why Danny Phantom got canceled. Now, I know a lot of YouTube channels have already talked about this, so basically what I'm about to say is nothing new, but this is always specifically for my fans, or even for those who come across this video and they don't know what happened. They would probably like to know why Danny Phantom got canceled, despite the fact that it was critically acclaimed by fans and critics. I'm about to explain why. Now, don't expect any new information out of this, because this is basically the same thing as other YouTube channels talking about it. Like, for example, I do know the YouTube user Kiro the Artist actually made a whole almost a half-hour video discussing why Danny Phantom got canceled. So basically, I'm just going to be reiterating exactly what they said here without adding anything new in here, so just bear with me. The real reason why Danny Phantom got canceled, it was not because fans hated it, because like I said, the series was universally acclaimed by critics and fans, but the real reason why Danny Phantom was canceled is because of, which is going to sound crazy, but this is because of Butch Hartman himself. It wasn't his decision to cancel the series, because he has said time and time again that he's always wanted to do more Danny Phantom, but the reason why Danny Phantom got canceled is because of a term I like to call marketing disaster. What happened was that around the production of the second or third season, Butch Hartman was beginning to overspend the money that he had on the show. It got to a point where the animation started to cost twice as much money compared to his other show, The Fairly Odd Parents, which, for the record, was only like 1/4 of how much it was actually compared to Danny Phantom. Now, what happened was that Butch started hiring different voice actors without Nickelodeon's permission. And he even, at one point, he even asked them for $2 million to advertise the second TV movie, The Ultimate Enemy. And Bush thought that this episode would actually be successful enough to bring in more merchandise sales. However, it did not. And for that, it suffered a huge marketing failure. What also ties in with the reason why Danny Phantom was canceled is because when Butch was given the opportunity to take the show to other networks, they never picked it up because of low ratings. The problem is that at the time, Danny Phantom was not pulling in as much higher ratings as SpongeBob was, and that's ultimately what caused the rise and fall of what a lot of people say is not only Butch Hartman's best show, but also one of the best animated shows on Nickelodeon and even in animated history. Now, it's such a shame that Danny Phantom had to come to an end like it did because, like I said, it really was a great series. And that's why it's regarded as a cult series because, like I said, at the time when it was airing, it was not pulling in as higher ratings as other shows on Nickelodeon at the time. And that was the main cause of Danny Phantom's early cancellation. It's a shame that it had to suffer the fate that it did, but many fans are still holding on to hope that Danny Phantom could very well make a return in the foreseeable future. Now, personally, after Butch Hartman left Nickelodeon last year in February, I personally don't think Danny Phantom is going to come back anytime soon, but he definitely did not rule out the possibility of Danny Phantom coming back in the foreseeable future. So the only thing that we can do at this point in time is to just wait. I hope you guys did enjoy this unnecessarily long video. I hope I got to say everything I wanted to say about the show because really, it really is that awesome. And I highly recommend watching it. It does have its flaws, but I feel like you're definitely going to get a great, not just good, but a great experience out of it. Now, that being said, I'm going to get out. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you guys are interested, just be sure to check out the Shizzle Network merchandise. Well, I'm going to have some promo codes coming out much later. Everything will be in the description below if you guys want to check everything out. Peace out and deuces. Beyond the infinite. And as always, stay for yourself and hit that subscribe button and hit that bell notification so that way you can get more content for Shizzle Network.